Welcome back to the deep dive. I was thinking the other day about how we all have these routines, these patterns that we follow day after day. But do we ever really stop and think about them? Mm-hmm. Today, we're going to kind of unpack this surprisingly fascinating world of daily routines and how a simple notebook can help us understand and optimize them.
It's interesting how our brains are totally wired for routines.
Yeah.
They're essentially shortcuts, right? They free up mental energy for other things.
Right.
But the problem is we often get stuck in these routines that aren't really serving us, and we don't even realize it.
So it's not just about having a routine, it's about having the right routine.
Exactly, and that's where the notebook comes in.
Okay.
It's like this tool for self-discovery, a way to bring awareness to those unconscious patterns, and then you can, start making intentional choices.
I like how you called it a tool for self-discovery. That sounds way more exciting than just a to-do list. But before we dive into the notebook thing, let's talk about describing our routines.
Okay.
I'll be honest. Sometimes when I try to explain my day, it just sounds, kind of boring.
I hear you.
Yeah.
It's like trying to describe a dream.
Right.
It makes perfect sense in your head, but then when you try to put it into words, it loses its magic.
Yeah.
The key is to focus on the details, the specific actions that, make up your day.
So instead of saying, I woke up, ate breakfast, and worked,
right?
I should be more specific.
Exactly. Something like, I woke up at 6:30, drank a cup of coffee while reading the news, and then went for a 30-minute run before starting work at 8.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Those details not only paint a clearer picture for other people, but they also help you become more aware of your own patterns.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like taking a mental snapshot of your day. Okay.
Yeah.
But is it okay to include how we feel during those activities? Can I confess that my brain doesn't fully function until I've had my second cup of coffee?
Absolutely. Feelings are crucial data points. They tell us what energizes us, what drains us, what areas of our routine might need tweaking.
Right.
Maybe that second cup of coffee is a signal that you need a more restful morning routine. Or maybe it's just a delightful ritual that you enjoy. Right. Either way, your notebook helps you understand the why behind the what.
Okay, I'm sold on the idea of capturing those details and feelings.
Good.
But now the notebook part, I'm a bit overwhelmed by all the options.
Just sure.
Lined, dotted, leather bound. Does it have to have a motivational quote on every page?
The good news is the type of notebook is far less important than the act of using it.
Right.
Choose one that appeals to you aesthetically and functionally.
Oh.
Some people prefer the simplicity of lined pages.
Yeah.
While others enjoy the visual freedom of bullet journal.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's about finding a format that encourages you to write consistently.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I tend to get excited about fancy stationery, but then I'm too afraid to actually use it. Maybe I should just start with a simple notebook that I don't mind messing up.
Yeah.
But how do I even begin? Should I just write down every minute of my day?
Not necessarily.
Right.
Starting with basic time blocking can be really helpful.
Okay.
You can divide your day into chunks of time and note what you plan to do during each block.
Okay.
For example, 7 to 8 a.m. morning routine, 8 to 12 p.m. work, 12 to 1 p.m. lunch break, and so on.
Time blocking. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
It sounds very organized, but I'm also someone who thrives on spontaneity.
Yeah.
Won't that make me feel boxed in?
It's all about finding the right balance.
Okay.
Time blocking is simply a framework.
Right.
It's not a rigid prison.
Yeah.
You can always adjust it as needed.
Right.
The key is to start with some structure and then see how it feels.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by how much more focused and productive you become when you have a clear plan for your day.
Okay. I'm willing to give it a try. But what if I forget to track my routine? I'm notorious for getting caught up in the moment and completely losing track of time.
That's where habit stacking can be a real game changer.
Okay.
The idea is to link your new habit, in this case notebook tracking, to an existing habit.
Right.
So, for example, you could keep your notebook next to your coffee maker and make it a rule to write down a few observations about your morning routine while you're sipping your coffee.
I like that. I'm definitely a creature of habit when it comes to my morning coffee. It's almost like a ritual.
There you go.
It's not just about listing times and activities, right?
Right.
Our source material talked about going deeper.
Exactly. This is where your notebook becomes more than just a schedule. It's the place to capture your thoughts, feelings, observations.
Right.
So, for example, instead of just writing, went for a run,
Yeah.
you could write, Went for a run, felt energized and focused afterward, but my knee was a bit sore. Need to stretch more.
Oh, so it's like having a conversation with myself on paper.
Exactly.
But what if I find myself just staring at the page, not knowing what to write?
Prompts can be helpful.
Okay.
Our sources suggested some good ones,
Yeah.
like what was the most challenging part of my day and how did I handle it? Or what's one small thing I can do tomorrow to make my day more enjoyable? These prompts encourage reflection and they help you connect your routine to your overall well-being.
I like that. It adds like a bit more purpose to the whole process.
Yeah.
But let's be real. I'm not going to become a productivity guru overnight just by writing in a notebook.
Of course not.
Right.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Right.
The notebook is simply a tool to help you become more aware of your patterns and make intentional choices.
Yeah.
And even small adjustments can have a big impact over time.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah.
I'm definitely someone who gets overwhelmed by trying to change too much at once.
Sure.
But what about those times when I'm feeling really stuck? Like I know I need to change something, but I don't even know where to begin.
That's where the power of data comes in. By consistently tracking your routine and your feelings.
Right.
You'll start to see patterns emerge.
Right.
You might notice that you're consistently tired in the afternoons or that you're most productive in the mornings.
Right.
This data then becomes the foundation for making informed changes.
So the notebook's like a personal scientist.
Yes.
Collecting data on my daily life.
That's a great analogy. And just like a scientist analyzing data,
Yeah.
you'll want to review your notebook regularly.
Okay.
Our sources suggested aiming for a weekly review.
Okay.
This allows you to spot those trends, celebrate your successes, and identify areas for improvement.
Okay, this is starting to sound really interesting. I'm starting to see how the notebook can be more than just a schedule.
Right.
It's like a roadmap for self-improvement.
Exactly.
But what about the social aspect of routines? I mean, it's not like I'm going to walk around telling everyone about my morning bowel movements, right?
Probably not the best conversation starter, but the social aspect comes into play when we start sharing our routines in a more intentional way. You know, focusing on the aspects that are unique, interesting, or helpful to others.
So maybe I wouldn't share my entire routine,
Right.
but I might mention a specific technique I've been using that's been helpful,
Right.
like time blocking
Yeah.
or morning meditation practice.
Exactly. And when we share those insights, we not only create a sense of connection, but we also open ourselves up to learning from others' experiences.
Right.
It becomes a reciprocal exchange of knowledge and support.
I like that. It's like we're all part of this big experiment trying to figure out the best ways to live our lives.
Exactly.
But before we get too carried away with sharing our routines with the world,
Yeah.
I think it's time to take a break and let our listeners absorb all this amazing information.
Okay.
We'll be back soon to explore how to make those routine changes stick and turn those notebook insights into real-world results.
That's good.
Yeah. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been like really digging into how tracking your daily routines in a notebook can uncover some like surprising insights about yourself.
It is fascinating how something as simple as writing down your daily activities can spark so much self-awareness.
I know, right? It's like holding up a mirror to your day and seeing things you never noticed before.
Yeah.
But now that we've got all this data in our notebooks,
Right?
what do we do with it? How do we turn those insights into actual changes?
That's where the real magic happens.
Yeah.
Remember those feelings you've been tracking? They're like little signposts, you know, they're pointing you towards areas that need attention.
Okay, so if my notebook is telling me I'm consistently hitting an energy slump around 3 p.m.,
Yeah.
what should I do? Resign myself to a life of afternoon naps under my desk.
While naps are delightful,
Yeah.
there might be some more strategic approaches.
Okay.
This is where your notebook becomes a testing ground.
Okay.
You can experiment with different strategies to combat that afternoon slump. So like maybe a quick walk, a healthy snack, or even just a change of scenery could make a difference.
So it's not about finding a one-size-fits-all solution. It's about using my notebook to figure out what works best for me.
Exactly. Your notebook becomes this personalized guide to optimizing your day.
Right.
And the more data you collect,
Yeah.
the more informed your choices become.
This is making me think about the whole 21-day rule for forming habits.
Yeah.
Does that really work for everyone? I feel like I've tried to implement new habits before, and they fizzle out way before the 21-day mark.
The 21-day rule is a good starting point, but it's not a magic formula.
Okay.
The reality is habit formation is a complex process,
Yeah.
influenced by a variety of factors, from, your personality to your environment.
So what's the secret sauce?
Yeah.
How do we make those changes stick?
One key factor is understanding your motivation.
Okay.
Why are you making this change? What's the deeper purpose behind it?
You're right. It's easy to get caught up in the shoulds. I should eat healthier. I should exercise more. But if there's no real meaning behind it, those changes are less likely to stick.
Exactly. And your notebook can help you connect with that deeper why.
Right.
Take some time to reflect on your values, your goals, the kind of life you want to create.
Right.
And then ask yourself how your routine can support that vision.
I like that. It's like giving your routine a purpose beyond just like checking tasks off a list.
Yeah.
It's about aligning your actions with your aspirations.
Exactly.
Speaking of aspirations,
Yeah.
your notebook is also a great tool for goal setting.
Absolutely.
Instead of letting your goals just kind of float around in your head, write them down, break them down into smaller steps, and then integrate those steps into your daily routine.
Exactly. Precisely.
So instead of just write a novel in my notebook,
Right.
I should break it down into smaller tasks, like
Yeah.
write 500 words every morning or research historical settings for an hour on Tuesdays.
Precisely. By making your goals concrete and actionable, you increase your chances of actually achieving them. And as you track your progress in your notebook, you create this visual reminder of your commitment,
Right.
which can be incredibly motivating.
Okay, I'm starting to see how the notebook can be this powerful tool for transformation.
Yeah.
But let's be real.
Sure.
There will be days when I don't feel like writing anything down. Days when I just want to throw my notebook out the window and eat a whole bag of chips.
Oh, yeah.
How do I stay motivated when those moments hit?
Remember those personalization tips we talked about? This is where they come in handy.
Right.
Make your notebook a source of joy, not a chore.
So stickers, colorful pens, and maybe a few doodles in the margins.
Absolutely. Whatever makes you smile and encourages you to engage with it.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of rewards.
Right.
Treat yourself to something you enjoy. After a week of consistent tracking, it's about creating positive associations with the habit.
Okay, I'm all for celebrating small wins.
Got.
But what about those times when I feel like I'm just going through the motions? Like my routine has become, routine.
That's a great point. It's important to build in some flexibility and variety to prevent your routine from becoming stagnant.
So it's okay to shake things up every now and then.
Absolutely.
To try a new coffee shop, take a different route to work, or even just switch up the order of my morning routine.
Absolutely. Your routine should evolve as you do.
Right.
It's not about being rigid. It's about finding a balance between structure and spontaneity.
This is making me realize that routines aren't just about efficiency.
Right.
They're also about self-discovery and personal growth. And our notebooks are like these amazing companions on that journey.
I love that. And speaking of companions, we often think of routines as very individual things.
Yeah.
But they can also be incredibly social.
Okay, I'm intrigued. You're not suggesting we start a book club for notebook enthusiasts, are you?
Although that does sound kind of fun. No, but think about it. Our routines are often shaped by the people around us.
Right.
We might be inspired by a friend's morning routine, or we might adjust our schedule to accommodate our family's needs.
That's true. My partner's a total night owl while I'm more of a morning person, so we've had to find ways to compromise and create a routine that works for both of us.
Exactly. And those shared routines can create a sense of connection and support.
Right.
Think about families who have dinner together every night, or roommates who have a weekly movie night. These shared rituals strengthen their bond and create a sense of belonging.
You're right. And it's not just about the people we live with, it's also about our broader communities, I'm thinking about those group fitness classes I used to go to.
Yeah,
There was a real sense of camaraderie and accountability,
absolutely.
even though we were all there for our own individual reasons.
Exactly. And those shared experiences can be incredibly motivating.
Right.
When we see others working towards their goals, it inspires us to keep going, even when it gets tough.
This is making me realize that routines aren't just about personal productivity.
Right.
They're also about building relationships and creating a sense of shared purpose.
Beautifully said. And your notebook can actually play a role in that social aspect as well.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Think about the power of sharing your routine insights with others.
Okay.
It could be as simple as telling a friend about a new productivity technique you've been trying,
Right.
or as involved as creating a shared accountability system with a group of colleagues.
I love that idea. It's like turning your individual routine journey into a collaborative effort.
Exactly.
But before we start sharing our deepest, darkest routine secrets with the world,
Yeah.
I think it's time to take another break and let our listeners digest all this amazing information.
Sounds good to me. When we come back, we'll explore how to overcome those inevitable setbacks, celebrate our successes, and turn those notebook insights into lasting habits.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring the power of routine tracking and how it can help us uncover hidden patterns in our lives.
It is amazing how much we can learn about ourselves just by paying attention to our daily actions and the feelings that are associated with them.
I know, right? It's like shining a light on those autopilot moments and realizing, hey, I have choices here.
Exactly.
But I think one of the most powerful things we've discussed is how our routines can actually shape our lives.
Yeah.
Helping us, achieve our goals and create a more fulfilling existence.
Absolutely. And that's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. It's not just about tracking and reflecting.
Yeah.
It's about using those insights to create meaningful change.
Okay, so let's say I've been diligently tracking my routine. I've identified some areas I want to improve, and I've even set some specific goals.
Yeah.
But how do I make sure those changes stick? How do I avoid falling back into old patterns?
That's where the concept of habit loops comes in.
Okay.
It's this fascinating cycle where a cue triggers a routine, which leads to a reward, and that reward reinforces the loop.
Yeah. Understanding this cycle is crucial for breaking bad habits and forming new ones.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say your goal is to reduce your social media use.
Okay.
The cue might be feeling bored or stressed.
Right.
The routine is scrolling through your phone.
Right.
And the reward is that, hit of dopamine you get from seeing likes and notifications.
Oh, yeah.
To break this loop, you need to identify the cue,
Yeah.
interrupt the routine, and replace it with a healthier alternative that provides, a similar reward.
So instead of reaching for my phone when I'm bored, I could try going for a walk, reading a book, or even just talking to a friend.
Exactly. And the more you repeat that new routine,
Yeah.
the stronger the new habit loop becomes. It's like rewiring your brain to crave healthier behaviors.
This is making me think about how powerful our environments are in shaping our habits.
Oh, for sure.
If I'm constantly surrounded by cues that trigger unhealthy routines,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot harder to make those changes stick, right? Absolutely. Our environments are full of subtle triggers that influence our behavior. That's why it's so important to create an environment that supports your goals.
Right.
It could be as simple as removing tempting snacks from your pantry
Oh, yeah.
or unsubscribing from those email newsletters that make you feel overwhelmed.
So it's not just about willpower. It's about setting ourselves up for success
Exactly.
and creating the right conditions for change.
Exactly. It's like planting a seed in fertile soil.
Okay.
If you plant a seed in rocky, barren ground, it's unlikely to thrive.
Right.
But if you create a nurturing environment, it has a much better chance of growing strong.
I love that analogy. It's making me think about my workspace.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to declutter my desk and create a more calming atmosphere to help me focus better.
That's a great idea. Even small changes to your environment can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And remember, your notebook can be a valuable tool for tracking those environmental triggers and experimenting with different strategies.
Okay. I'm ready to channel my inner Marie Kondo and create a space that supports my best self. But let's be real. Even with the best intentions and the most supportive environment,
Sure.
there will be times when we stumble, we'll miss a workout, eat that extra cookie,
Yeah.
or scroll through social media for way too long.
Happens.
How do we handle those setbacks without getting discouraged?
First of all, remember that setbacks are inevitable. They're part of the process.
Right.
The key is to not let them derail you completely.
Yeah.
Instead of beating yourself up, use your notebook to analyze what happened.
So instead of throwing my notebook across the room in frustration,
Right.
I should use it to figure out what triggered the setback and how I can prevent it from happening again.
Exactly. Maybe you were feeling stressed, maybe you were sleep deprived, or maybe you just needed a break.
Right.
Your notebook can help you identify those patterns and develop coping mechanisms.
This is making me realize that my notebook isn't just a tool for tracking my routines. It's also a tool for self-compassion.
I love that. It's about approaching yourself with kindness and understanding, even when you make mistakes.
Throughout this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
we've talked a lot about personal transformation.
Right.
But I'm also curious about how these individual changes can ripple outwards
Yeah.
and impact our relationships, our communities, and even the world around us.
That's such an important point. When we prioritize our own well-being and create healthier routines, it creates a ripple effect.
Can you give me an example?
Imagine if everyone made a conscious effort to incorporate more mindfulness into their daily routines.
Okay.
It could lead to more empathy, more patience, and more kindness in our interactions with others.
Yeah.
Or imagine if more people prioritize sustainable practices, like biking to work or reducing their energy consumption.
Right.
It could have a positive impact on the environment.
Those are great examples. It's like the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Small changes can have a huge impact over time.
Yeah.
And it all starts with that individual commitment to creating healthier, more intentional routines.
Absolutely. And those changes don't have to be drastic. It's not about becoming a productivity superhero overnight.
Right.
It's about making small, sustainable changes that add up to a more fulfilling life.
I think that's a great message to end on.
Yeah.
It's not about perfection, it's about progress.
Exactly.
And it all starts with that simple act of picking up a notebook and paying attention to our daily lives.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So go forth, dear listeners. Embrace the power of routine cracking and start creating the lives you desire.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.